Hello everyone, is everyone able to hear me? Am I clear or is my voice completely clear to you all? Okay, so let's wait for 2 minutes for more people to join and then we'll get started. So let's get started. So hello friends, welcome to SFDC Amplified live session 2 on Lightning Web Component Basic Development, and you can ask all your questions in the chat and Gyan will be answering you meanwhile I'm giving the session, and at the end of the session we will be handling the Q&A. So please go ahead and ask the questions. So first of all, the timing. So free weekly LWC sessions are on every Sunday, 8 p.m. IST, 10:30 a.m. EST, and 7:30 a.m. PST. And links will be sent to you before the next session starts. So in this chapter, we will be learning about the W3C web components. So the agenda of the chapter is that custom elements, shadow DOM, HTML templates, and HTML imports. So basically, you don't have to learn and go very much in depth in these topics, but a basic understanding is needed to understand that how web components are structured because they are based off the Lightning web components. So just let's go to little basic so we have a fair understanding of it. So I will be showing you a little bit of code snippet and some pointers so you understand what it is. And that's all it is needed. You don't have to go ahead and do the coding or something, but just understand the basic code. Hello, am I good enough now? Okay, just give me a moment. Is it better? Is it better? Okay, so I will be little louder. So, okay, sure. So I will be a little louder. So coming back, okay. So basically in this session, we will be discussing about the web components. So here the agenda is to discuss custom elements, shadow DOM, HTML template, and HTML imports. Is my voice still low? Guys, am I loud enough for you to listen? Okay. Okay, okay, great. So I'm just reading the comments and I think it is good now. So we will just get started. So as I was saying that you just need to know the basics of these components, because these are the pillars of the web components and these help in understanding Lightning Web Component better. So I will be showing you the code snippets, but you don't have to necessarily go through them in depth. Just a fair basic understanding of it would be good enough. So that's what we are targeting for this chapter. So if we go ahead, as we discussed earlier that in WebStack 2014, all the features needed to build an app was not provided by web standard, and therefore we needed a thick framework, web framework layer, which was used to provide by build by the apps. So like Angular, React, Aura came into picture to provide the standards which were not there in the web stack, and this led to reducing the performance. You can see here there's a web framework and that was needed earlier in the web stack 2014. But as the web stack evolved in 2019, so in those 5 years we didn't need web framework at all. You can see that there is no web framework. The reason is that web standard itself had all the important key elements like template, shadow DOM, etc. to help us achieve what we wanted to achieve or what we were achieving using the frameworks earlier. So we could create the enterprise level application just like that without using web framework. And then Lightning Web Component catched up and they use the same standards given by W3C, and then they were able to provide us with good performance. So what are web components? So web components are collection of standards which are provided by W3C. So don't worry, we are not going with a science class here, just trying to understand that web component is nothing but the skeleton underneath the structure. So what we understand by this? So web component helps in developing application in more modular way through the custom elements. So you can see that all of these are the custom elements. So web components help us to do that. So if you can see here, these custom elements allow us to break the application into smaller chunks. That's what web components help us to do. So you can see the example of Amazon. So each of these components can be like web components, and then they are having like image, price tag. So see, you can see like these are three, but there will be thousands of like this. And instead of creating like different cards with different content, we can just create one tag like placeholder element for title, for cover, for image, and then we can use thousand of cards. So we don't have to worry in creating so many cards itself. We can just create one and then reuse it. And that is the base of web component. So now there are four pillars of web components like we just named. So we have to understand like what are they. So let's go one by one. So firstly I will talk about the custom element. So what is custom element? So you would have seen video element for displaying video, or you would have seen the image element for displaying images like H1, H2, BR. Lot of HTML tags you would have seen here and there. You would have used many. But with custom HTML tags, you can create your own tag, and that is pretty cool, right? So basically, as the web evolved, there are many tags which we want to use. So video tag is given, we are just using it. But what if we want to create our own tag and use that functionality? So custom elements help us to do that. We create custom class, which I will show you, and then we use some of the lifecycle methods like connected callback, which we will go through it. So here is the code snippet for it. So as I said earlier, you don't have to go in very much detail about it, but a fair understanding is important. So see, in the HTML, so basically I'm using code pen here. So here you can see my component. So my component is not any any tag which you have used. You have never seen that. So if you try my component HTML, nothing will happen. So, but still I am able to use and still I am able to see hello world. So how is that possible? So if you see here in the JavaScript, I have created a class, and in the class I have named my component, the class name, and then I have extended it with HTML element. So basically what it is doing is all custom elements must extend this HTML element in order to register with the browser, and it extends the HTML element to ensure that the custom element inherits the entire DOM API. Like means any property method we want to create becomes a part of the DOM interface, and then we are using the connected callback. So basically we use this connected callback that we want to connect, and then here we write in our HTML hello world. This is what we want to see here. Once we are able to write this, then you can see that custom element dot define, and through this define we are able to write my component, whatever element you want to define. So here we want it to be my element, and then the class name. So if you go more in depth, then this custom element dot define, so it is coming from the custom element registry interface, and it provides this method dot define, and basically because of which we are able to create the custom component. So to understand in nutshell, because of this we are able to create our own custom element which we can use, and all the code which we can create by ourselves, and then we can use the lifecycle hooks in our class, and that's how we are able to do it. So that is custom element for you. Now to understand the shadow DOM, we want to understand the basic of DOM. So here we already created a custom element. We have a fair understanding about it. I used my name, and here I gave it is H3. My name is Smriti Sharan, so it is coming as H3. And then I used another one, welcome to SFDC Amplified. And then I changed both of the color in the CSS as blue. So you can see here as I change the color to blue, because both are H3, it is changing as H3. Here we write my name, and here we have put it as H3, and this is also H3. So this is a normal DOM which you would have seen. That's how we are able to write. Now once we go to the shadow DOM, so what is shadow DOM? It is used for self-contained component. It encapsulates style and markup. So to understand better, shadow DOM is its own entity apart from the regular DOM. So we will go through it, but it creates with element dot attach shadow. So we just need to use dot attach shadow, and we are able to create it. And then we use the mode open so that it is accessible to the browser. And then we create a shadow root that we can reference and interact with. Obviously, it's enough theory to understand. Let's go in detail. So if you see here, here we want to create an application, and then that application is having its own component. So for example, we have applied the styling to the entire application, but we want a different styling for this. So we can put it as important, and we can change the background color like that. But instead of doing like this, we can create a shadow DOM. So shadow DOM will help us in defining the color for that particular component itself. So it will be having its own properties, its own CSS that will be different from the regular DOM. So we can put in shadow DOM and give it its own styling. That is what is shadow DOM. So let's understand some basic terminology, and then we can see the code to understand it better. So you can see here the shadow host is the regular DOM node that shadow DOM is attached to. So you can see the uh, shadow is attached to your shadow DOM is attached to it. Then there is shadow tree, the DOM tree inside the shadow DOM. That is that. And then there is shadow boundary, the place where the shadow DOM ends. And then we can start the regular DOM. So here it is showing the shadow boundary, and it shows there where it ends. So you can see there's a normal DOM, attached to it is a shadow host, and the whole tree structure is there, and then there's shadow boundary which ends it, and then we have shadow root. So it is the root node of the shadow tree. So basically from there it is starting. So let's understand it with the code snippet. So here if you see, the same code is there, but suppose we want a different color, like I just discussed, that we want different color for both H3, but both are H3, so how we can change the color, because here we put it as red. So what should have happened ideally, that both the colors should have changed to red. But now what I want is that my name should be of different color and this H3 should be of blue color. So what we can do here is we can simply put in the styling color blue. So my name Smriti Sharan is coming as blue, though the entire H3 is red. So if we would not have applied this H3 here, if we would not have put the this dot attach shadow mode open, then we would have seen it like regular one and both would have come as red because H3 is red. But as we are putting it inside the shadow DOM, that's why we are seeing it as different color. So let's see, like I discussed, that how we can do that. We can do this dot attach shadow and then we have to put as mode open, and earlier the shadow root was not there, but this time we said this dot shadow root dot inner HTML. So what will it do? It will be able to put the styling to that particular HTML which we are putting it in the shadow root. So that's how this works. So to differentiate the styling, and it will not get it from the general DOM structure. And once you do the inspect element, then you will be able to see shadow root here. So let's see. So here you can see we have done the attach shadow, we have put the shadow root, and then it is coming. Let's do the inspect element. So you can see my name, and also it has to be with hyphen when we are creating custom element as we discussed. Now if you see here, the shadow root is written. Otherwise what should have happened? It would have given the styling like here. See, here it is coming H3 as red. That's how it comes, right? But here it is coming as shadow root. And then once we open it, so it is encapsulated. And once we open the shadow root, here only we can see the color as blue, not here itself. And we can see this like this. So it differentiates itself from the normal DOM. So that is what shadow root is for you. So this is how we understand how the shadow DOM works and the terminology associated to it. So if you like, you can go ahead and try the code snippet and see how it works for you, but not required. And then the next topic is HTML template. So what is HTML template? It earlier we used to we used same markup structure repeatedly on the web page. Like I gave you the example of Amazon, right? So if we are using the same structure again and again, that will be very cumbersome and it will be very heavy. So earlier we used to create the same structure, but now we can use template rather than repeating the same structure over and over again, like we discussed for Amazon. So this was possible before, but it has been more easy with the HTML template element. So it is well supported with the modern browser, and now if we see, it defines the encapsulated markup of web component. So this element and its content are not rendered in DOM, but we can reference it using the JavaScript. And then template tag stores markup on page. Then it includes both HTML and CSS in template. So if we see here in the code snippet, here is the template. And if we just type this, then we will not see the content like SFD simplified. We have to, because template is not there, like we discussed, that define encapsulated Markov web component. So basically, it runs only when we write the JavaScript. So we define that in JavaScript, and that's how we are able to get it. So that's how the template works. So that we are not wanting to repeat the same code structure. And then comes the HTML import. So it's pretty straightforward. Imports allow you to include the HTML document within other HTML document. So like you can see here, HTML import uses the link element to reference that file we want to import. That is what is HTML element for you. So let's go back. So guys, in the Lightning Web component, I have added the chapters 7, 8, 9. So you can go ahead. So, so here if you talk about the HTML import, you can see that the imported HTML file contains like several links and script elements that are responsible for the styling. So you can see the styling sheet and all those things. So we can simply do the import, and that is HTML import for you. So to understand, basically there are four pillars of web component, and they are the ones which help in creating the base for the web components. So moving on to the supported JavaScript and supported Salesforce experience. So basically that the okay. So basically, Lightning Web Component JavaScript support includes ES6, ES7, ES8, ES9. So what are these basically? So these are the ECMAScript. These are the versions of JavaScript. So LWC supports these ones, ES6, 7, 8, and 9. So when we talk about ES6, then all the features in ES6 can be used by LWC. In ES7 also, all the features can be used. When we talk about ES8, that is the version, excludes shared memory and atomics. So these are being excluded. So there are many features. So one of the features which is excluded in the LWC is this one. And then there is ES9, which was there in 2018, which came in 2018, and it includes only object spread properties. So to understand, we are just trying to understand that which are the ECMAScript versions which are being supported by the LWC, so we can use accordingly. So when we go to 6, ES6 or ES7, then all will be supported, and it's good to have the basic understanding of ES6, so that you can take care. And then ESMA International standardized these languages which can be used by the LWC. Now talk about supported Salesforce experiences and tools. So basically Lightning web component, once we create, we can see it in Lightning experience. We can see in Salesforce app, Lightning communities we can see. Then there is Lightning app builder, in the experience builder. Then there are apps in which we can see. Then we can see in the lightning out, so basically exposed to the non-Salesforce sites. Then we can also see in the custom tabs. Then the utility bar are in the footers, so even the footer you can add it. Then in the flows you can add it. Then in the managed packages you can add it, and the unmanaged packages you can add. Then in the change set you can deploy. Then there are APIs like metadata API, tooling API, EMP API. Then there you can add. Then embedded service chat, so these are available. Then Gmail and Outlook integration. So these are the supported experiences and tools for the Lightning web component. Now let's understand the Lightning web component folder structure. So you can see that there will be HTML file, JavaScript file, configuration, and CSS file. So we can simply create components using HTML, JavaScript, and CSS. That's it. That's all you want. So the HTML provides the structure for the component. JavaScript defines the core business logic and event handling, and CSS provides the look and feel of it. So here you can see I have created hello world. So once we do create lightning web component, so I chose to create the name hello world, and here the name is hello world.html. So this file is mandatory. So these three files which are mandatory are HTML file, then the JavaScript file, and meta.xml. So we will be going in detail for them. So if you see here, we have a project here, but right now it doesn't have anything. So any lightning web component. So I will simply create one. Create lightning web component, and we give the name, and we choose the location. So it shows that okay, we want to choose to this location. So we will be simply clicking on it, and it is creating the lightning web component. So we can create here, or we can also create using the terminal. So both are the two options available to us. So now you can see that these are there. So now we can understand all the files in little bit more depth. So when we come to the HTML, hello world.html, so template is written. So we just understood like what is template. Here we can write the markup inside the template. So basically LWC use the templating system, and which uses the virtual DOM to render the component. So every component requires an HTML file, and it will be having this root template app, and where we will be holding the markup, and all the content will be inside it. Then we have the GS file. This one we will be understanding in more depth. So let's go back. So before that, we will be understanding the folder and file naming convention. So once we are creating the lightning web component, so it must begin with the lower case letter. So even if you put hello H capital, but still it will be creating lightning web component hello as small. So you can just try it. Then it must contain only alphanumeric or underscore character. Then it should be unique in namespace. Then we should not be including by space, like my first component, the space should not be there, and it cannot end with underscore, and cannot contain two consecutive underscores, and cannot contain a hyphen. So you can go ahead and try this, and you will see that which are there, which are needed in the lightning web component name when you are creating. So we just discussed the HTML file. Now we want to discuss the JavaScript file. So we saw that there was import lightning element from LWC, and then there is export default class hello world extends lightning element. So to understand this terminology, let's go to little basic. So something is called module. So ECMAScript 2015, that is ES6, introduced the module system. You can consider module as files, so or group of files. So modules can use directives like export and import to call functions of the module like file from one another. So if you want to import one file, then we can simply use the import and export to do that. Now let's understand the exporting a module in a little bit more detail. So this is all these concepts are coming from ECMAScript. I have taken it from ES6, so you can go ahead and check that. So they're default exports and then named export. So like you saw that code, export default class hello world. So that is default export. Module that need to export only a single value can use default export. So there can be only one default export per module. So here we are writing export default class hello world extends lightning element. Lightning element is nothing but a class. So through by which we are able to create our own custom element. Then we saw that there is a default export which we are just using, and then there is something called named export. So with named export we can have multiple exports. With default export we can only have one, but with name export we can have multiple. The name of import module has to be same as the name of export module. So what we understand by this is that if here we want to change hello world, we can do that. We can have different name, but as a best practice, the name of class should usually match the file name of the JavaScript class. But that is not required when it comes to default export. But when it comes to the named export, the name of import module has to match. And we can have multiple named export. So you can see here that export is there. So we can have multiple name export, but default name export has to be just one. Now there's something called mix export, as in we can have both named export and default export in one JavaScript file. So there will be one default export like we discussed, and then the same file we can have multiple other export. So you can try it. That's how both the export works. Now we had a line called import lightning element from LWC. So that is importing a module. So to be able to consume a module like file, we use import keyword. So here we are using import lightning element from LWC. LWC is nothing but the base module from which we are importing the lightning element. So the core module in lightning web component is LWC. The import statement helps in importing it. And lightning element is nothing but a custom wrapper of the standard HTML elements. So basically lightning element is a class, and this is a wrapper to bring the standard elements. So that's how our code works here. So if I go back, we are able to understand what is import lightning element from LWC and what is export default class. So export default is nothing but the default export. Now there is third file. The third file is hello world JS meta XML. Now to understand this file, we can see here that we have XML version, coding, lightning component, API version. So basically what are these? So if we talk about this file, it defines the metadata of the component. So what is the component, where it can be used, how it can be used. So that is what metadata configuration file does for us. So if we talk about like is expose is written as false, so we have to mark it as true if we want to see it in the app builder, and then it gives the API version. So these are the basics of creating a file, and then you can go ahead and read the basic in the chapter 8, understanding the lightning web component folder structure. So these are the mandatory files. Apart from that, you can also create a CSS, but it should be from the same name. So you can create a new file, hello world.css, but it should be of the same name like others. So that is how you are able to create. And then there is something called hello world.svg. This helps in having the icon in the app. So these are the file structure when we are talking about the LWC. That comes under the Force app. Here in the LWC section you are able to create it. So now let's discuss Lightning Web Component Library. So in this chapter, we will be understanding the component reference, developer guide, playground, and sample gallery. So let's see. So I will Google Lightning Web Component Library. So this is the developer guide. So this developer guide, you can go ahead and see all the in-depth concepts of Lightning Web Component. So all those topics you will be able to see, from introduction to debugging to Aura coexistence. These are the topics we can see in the developer guide. Then component reference is like all the base components which we are wanting to use are available here. So for instance, you want to check that input button. So simply you put input and you will be able to see input. So now you can see, okay, I want what kind of input you want. So you can choose accordingly, and then you will be able to see the preview, and then you will be able to see the code for it. So JavaScript, CSS, HTML, like we saw that we just need 3 of them. So we are able to see all the code snippet for it. And here you can see you can switch between Aura component and Lightning Web Component. So if you just click on View as Aura component, then the whole code you will be seeing in Aura. And if you go back and click on View as Lightning Web Component, so then you will be seeing as Lightning Web Component. So these are the base which have been created for us, base components. So we can go ahead and try different ones. You can see whole all the components are available. So you can just go ahead and try different. Then comes the playground. This is very interesting. Here in the playground, you can try your own code here and see how it comes. So if you see, there are 3 sections to it. This first section, here there is something called live compilation, as in as you change you will be seeing here. So if for example here it is write JavaScript, if I just remove the line, immediately you don't see it. So this is live compilation. You can select it or unselect it. Basically if you want to see the change immediately, live compilation will help to do that. Then there is a folder app having 3 files: app.html, app.js, app.css. So like we discussed, there are 3 files. If you want to create your own, then you can create a directory, and then you can create your own folder if you want to. And then inside that you can have your own structure, JS file, CSS, and HTML like we saw. And here you can write your own code. So this is how your structure works. Then coming back to the preview, so like once you make the changes, then automatically you will be able to see here. Then you can do the run is needed, like if we are not doing the live compilation and then we are making the change and then we want to run it, so we can simply click on run and it will be running for you. So now you see here the URL, and it is coming as library tools playground. Now what will I do is I'll simply click on run. Sorry, I will simply click on save and see the URL. It has given us a URL with an ID. So you need to simply save it. The reason being it is being saved in the playground, but this ID you will not be able to find. So just save it with you so that whenever you put this link again, then you will be having, for example, here you made the change and created html.helloworld.html. So now if you want the same code there, so you will just put that URL and then you will be able to do it. But in the best practice, you should be able to download it, and once you download, you can see the whole code with you, keep it safe with you, and then you can make the changes. So that's how the playground works. Now let's see, if I go to the component reference, and like we were discussing about the button, let's go there to the button, and this is aura for us, right? So instead of aura, we want to do as lightning web component. So we'll just simply go there. Right now we don't need to understand the code, but we need to understand that how easy they have made for us to make the change and see how it works. So we will simply click on open. So earlier what was happening, we couldn't make the changes here, we could just see it, but we could not see how it actually works. But now we can simply go to open in playground. So the whole code will be here with us, and then we can make changes and save as it happens, and this will help us. So for example, with the brand, we want to change the label, and let's change another one. So like that, you are able to make the changes and see automatically. So whatever base component you want to use, you can simply just play around with it in the playground and see how it works. And then this is not connected to the org, so you can just make changes and save it. But this is how you will be able to do the changes and learn the Lightning Web component. So they have made pretty easy for us. Then something is there, sample gallery, which I wanted to share with you. So this is Lightning Web Component sample gallery. So the sample apps are there, which we can install, which we can clone from the GitHub and see how they are working, understand the code structure, and then we can try implementing our own code. So they have created many of them, e-bikes. You will be seeing some trailheads regarding it. LWC recipe, Dream House, this is very popular. LWC recipe open source, Easy Space, Visual Force for LWC. So all of them are here, and you can see all of them and try your code, try testing. So we will be trying LWC recipe in our code today, that we will be cloning it and seeing how it works. So we can see the simple code snippets and check how it works. But you can go ahead and clone any one of them you want and run your code and see the changes. So now it's the time to create our first Lightning Web component. So let's do it. So now we will be going to our HTML and let's write something. So we have written a simple code. H1 we are using tag, and then we just writing a code. Now we want to see it. So for that, if you want to see it in our app builder, we have to change is exposed to true, and we will be saving it. Now what will I do is I will simply push the changes. So for that, I will do Control Shift P, and I need to push. So before that, first of all, you need to see if you are connected to your Scratch org. So firstly, like in earlier session, I discussed that how you can connect to the Scratch org, try that, and then get it connected, and then push the changes to the Scratch org. So let's see. So we are getting some error. Let's see what it is. So hello world CSS is empty right now. So let's delete it for now. Like we were just using it for understanding. So I'll just save it and I will again run. Let's see. If it is connected properly, then it should deploy. Otherwise, we will see that if the connection is proper or not to the Scratch org. So now you can see that push shows to default score is successful. Now, if I want to open the Scratch org, some of the code it will be using SFTX force org open, and then if it is not default, then we have to just write the name LWC and we click on enter. So now I will just go here and type lightning component. Go here and let's see. So you can see hello world is already there. So we cannot make any changes here. Like when we were talking about Aura, we can make the changes. But when it comes to Lightning Web Component, we have to go through Code Editor and deploy it. We can just see the details. So now if I just want to see that whether it's available for us or not, so let's go to a particular app. Let's go to the Sales app and we will just simply see whether it's available or not. So we will be going to home and we will just edit page. And see there is no component for us. So there is no component available. So to make it available, what we need to do, that's what we have to understand. So for that, you need to use targets. So basically, once we want to add to a particular location, we will be saying targets. So here I will be saying targets. And now where I want to make it available. So let's see. We can make it available to app page, home page, record, record pages. So let's see. So these are the places we can make available. So we use target and then we can say that okay, I want it to be available to a record page, home page, wherever we want to. We can have it in the community page. We can have in the community default. So let's say we want it in the record page and home page. So like I just put the code. So we will be simply putting this and then we also want it in our home page. So we'll just put in home page here. So earlier that was not available. Now again we will do SFDX push and let's see now what happens. So it has the code there, you can see. And now here you are seeing 0, right? Now I will refresh it. So I will just simply click on reload and see hello what is there. Now I go to back, and let's see, we want to see on accounts. So we said that we want on the record page. So we will just simply click on the edit page and see it is there. Now let's go back. The thing which I want to show you is that if we open contact, opportunity, or any other object record page, it will be there. But what if you say that no, I just want it on account but no other page, or I just want it on account and contacts. So for that, what will you do? So if right now if we are editing the page, we are able to see. And this is the contact record page where we are able to see, but we don't want to see, we just want it to be there on the account. So for that, what we will do, there's something called target configs. So in the target configs, we will be telling the object where we want to see. So let's write our line of code. So I will go back. So it lets you specify behavior specific for each type of lightning page. So like we want it on the account page, so just simply copy this code, and here you can see that we want it on the record page. For which object? Account object. So you can specify, okay, I want for account contacts but not opportunities, so you can add accounts, and then you can also add opportunities if you want to be there on opportunity. So like that you can create. So for now we want it on account but no other object. So I'll save it, and then again I will push. So now I will go back. So now, right now you can see this is contact record page, and you can see this. But what we wanted that it should be only on account, and we had a target configs to do that. Now, if I refresh it, let's see what happens. So now it is not there, but it doesn't mean that it is not there on the account record page. If you go to account record page, you will be still able to see. Let's do. Go to account record page. Go to edit page. And see, we are able to see here. So that is the beauty of it. In the metadata.xml file, you can define that, okay, what you want to use, where you want to use, that kind of location you can put in. If we go in more detail, here we can also add some other components, like we can add the description if we want to. So we can simply say description here, and we can say, okay, this is my first web component. Then we want to have the master label. So master label is the title of the component which appears in the list view. So we can have the master label if you want to have it. And then whatever you want to name it, we can name it. So like that, we can use different configurations to add it here. So this is how we are able to create our first Lightning Web component. Now it's very interesting. Now we want to connect to the Visual Studio in GitHub. So how we do that? So we were talking about various sample apps, right? So one of the app is LWC recipes, which we can see the code. So here it's GitHub, here all the code is there, and you can simply clone it and run it and see how it works. So it has, if you go down, it has given the whole installation, that how we can install using a scratch org, or if you want to go to the normal sandbox, here also you can do it. So if you want to do it using developer edition or trailhead background, so what are the steps? So they're pretty straightforward. So I will just discuss that because installing it takes time. So I have done the installation, but we can go ahead. So the step one is that we have to set up the complete environment. So right now I'm doing using scratch org, so I'm discussing that. So you will be have to firstly enable the dev hub, which we have already discussed. You should have Visual Studio Code, CLI, and then Salesforce extension pack. So what you are doing here is you are authorizing it. So you can simply go here and you can either do Control Shift P and you can do SFDX and authorize a dev hub, and otherwise you can simply go here and write the command in the terminal. Then it is asking you to clone the repository. Now the location where you want to clone. So what I did is there is a folder Salesforce LWC. Here I wanted to clone LWC recipe. So what I did is here in the here in the Visual Studio, I went to terminal and I went to the Salesforce LWC. So I will see dot means going back to the particular location. So right now I'm in the Scratch LWC, that is another project which we are working. I want to go back because Salesforce LWC is having our location where I want to have it. Now here I want to clone it. So simply I will just copy this line of code, git clone. Once I have cloned it, it will take some time to clone it and it will get cloned. Once that is done, then you have to go inside that. So you can do whatever the name of it. So it's LWC recipes. So you do LWC. So now you are inside it. So that's what it said, that go inside the directory. Once you are inside it, then you are again you will be creating a scratch org. So either you can create a scratch org like this, or you can do Control Shift P and create a scratch org. Before that you have to authorize a dev hub. Once that you have done that, then you do the create a scratch org. So you can do using terminal where the command is already given to you, or you can do Control Shift P and do SFDX and create a scratch org. So you will be able to create a default scratch org, and then you give the alias name, or simply put here you can give that okay, I want to use this project scratch dev.json, and the alias name should be LWC recipe. Once you've done that, you will be able to see that particular project. So let me open here. So I will go open folder and I will be opening LWC recipe. So the whole code you will be able to see once you do that. Once that is done, once you are connected. So now how you can check that it is successfully created or not? So there are some commands which you can keep it handy. So force org list is one of them. So you can go ahead and put this command to see that what are the orgs which are connected. So like through our code we would have just created a scratch org. So let's see if this is there or not. So you can see that the LWC recipe is there, and if it is connected it will be showing LWC recipe here. So you don't have to worry on that. So LWC recipe will be connected. Once that is done, then you can push the code. So we just saw that how we can push, right? So what we are doing is whatever we cloned from the git, now we are pushing it in our own scratch org. So simply we will be putting this code to push it, and then this is the assigning permission sets which they are giving. Then we are importing the sample data, and then we have to import open the scratch org. So sfdx force org open will help us opening it, and we will simply put this. And so now the org is open for us. Now if I go to app exchange app, sorry, and we do view all, and I go to LWC, so here you will be able to see your code. So see, all of them are coming here. So you can easily start working with all of them and see how it works. Now something interesting which I want to show you. So I don't know the name of the component it is using, right? So basically what we can do is we can simply click here and see the name. So the name is hello. So for example, I want to open that. Or if I want to use HTML expressions, then we will be having HTML expressions where we can have it open. So like that we can check the name, and accordingly we are able to see it. So hello expressions is there. The same way hello for each will be there. So let me open one of them. So here hello is open. So here if I want to make any change, so for example I just want to remove this line of code and say welcome to LWC session, and I save. So what I need to do is I need to do again push, and again I have to wait once the change is being deployed, and you're waiting for it and seeing it being deployed, seeing if it's failed or not, and then refreshing the page. So it is taking time, but we have to do this. So if it is connected to the org, it will make the changes. So keeping time constraint in mind, we will be assuming that it is being deployed. So that's how we are able to. But like I just said, it takes time to do this. So what we will do is we can do the Lightning Web Component local development. So with the help of Lightning Web Component local development, we are able to have it there itself in the local org itself. So if you go here in this chapter, Lightning Web Component local development. So it is helping us to build the component fast, and we can build it, test it in the local server itself. So how we can do that? So there are some steps for it. So first of all, there are prerequisites that you have to have the Visual Studio Code, Salesforce extension back, Salesforce CLI. Once that is being done, then you will be installing the local development server. For that, so there is this command, installs Salesforce local development server. Go ahead and just install it. I have already done that for me. Then if you want to check that if it is perfectly installed or not, clear command to clear everything. It's not recognized. Okay. So once I do that, you can see that whole SFDS plugins I am able to see in my org. So my terminal. So I am able to see. It means that it is perfectly installed. Then you create your own project or you clone one. So I'm already cloned the LWC recipe. Then once that is being done, the next step is once you create a clone, then you enable the dev hub in an org, which we have seen how to do that. Then we create a scratch org, which we have already done, and then we simply start the server. So to start the server, this is the command sfdx lightning lwc start. So I will simply use that. So see, it says that dev hub org it is using this, then the scratch org is this, API version is this, and now it will be giving us a link. So see, it is giving us the link that it is up here. So let's open this. So this is a local host where it is there. Now the advantage is now you can do it very quickly rather than pushing it and waiting it for so long. So now, for example, these are all the components available. You can go to the favorite one you want to choose. For us, it is hello. So if I go here, so here you are able to see. So now if I want to see this code in the Visual Studio, I will simply click in view in VS Code, and simply it will open for us that particular. So it is asking that wants to open it, we'll say yes. So earlier we had to search for it, but now we don't have to. Simply it has opened it for it. And now if we want to make some change, so welcome to LWCC by SFTC Amplified, and I save it, and that's it. I don't need to do any push or something. Now I will just simply refresh it, and see, we are able to see the change. That simple it is. Go and open any component you want, make the changes in the local server. Once you are satisfied, then do the deployment. So that makes it pretty fast. And if you understand this code, what is happening is here in the HTML, we are seeing we could have simply said hello Smriti, but we are binding to the JavaScript. We will be understanding in more detail in the later sessions. But here we are having hello JS. In this one, inside the export default, we have written a command greeting equal to what. Now, whatever we are putting here, this property, so this particular property is having word. Now we want to use that in our HTML, so we will be using it here like this. So whatever name we are putting here will be used and will be seen. So now if I simply change it to Smriti, so here we still have greeting. But now because we have changed it, so we will be, if I just simply save it and then refresh the screen. So we already had hello Smritishan. So that quick it is. If we go back and want to open, so right now it was open. If we wanted to open simply any other one, we can simply go ahead and see for hello. There is something called hello binding. we see the code and we want to change it. So we simply click on view in VS Code and that will open. And if you want to inspect, we can simply inspect it to understand the base code. So we will be selecting that particular component and we will be seeing that what is happening here. So like that easily you will be able to see the whole component and then you can make the changes you want to. So it makes it simple because you are seeing a particular component and making changes to it and opening in the Visual Studio Code. That particular code will open for us and see earlier that one was open, now this is open, hello bunting, and then you can make changes accordingly. So that is the LWC local development. So we have connected to a server and we have seen the result. So that is end of the session today. So thank you for everyone to join. So are there any questions which I can answer and then we can end the session? So as someone said about the recording of the session, so it is in the YouTube itself. So everything will be recorded, so you don't have to worry. So someone asked about learning the JavaScript. So we will be going through some basics of it. So whatever is needed, some basics will be involving that, but not very much in depth. What is needed for LWC, that much we can cover. So like so someone has asked that if you have any plans about HTML and CSS3. So basically this particular session is basically focusing on Lightning and we will be using HTML and CSS anyways inside it, and then we will be understanding that code, that what it means. Like we understood that import and export and they were coming from ES6, so we went in depth for it, right? So like that when it is coming, then we will be understanding about it. But it will be preferred to see the base using W3 schools. That is very helpful. So someone has asked that once we make our changes to scratch org, then how to deploy it from scratch org to sandbox. So we had that in the previous session where we saw that we can use MD API to do that. So you can check that. So yes, we can do the developer org itself. Scratch org are complement to the development org and they have their own advantages. So they are disposable and we can have it from 1 to 30 days and we can use them. So someone asked like, does fully learning HTML5, CSS3 and JavaScript prerequisite for learning Lightning? So actually, not fully. Like for example, JavaScript is having a lot of frameworks which you don't need to learn. So there are some basics of JavaScript which you should know to understand Lightning Web Component easily. That's why it is becoming easier for JavaScript developers to learn rather than the Salesforce developers because we are mostly working on backend. So if you know the basics of HTML5, CSS, and some basic concepts of JavaScript, then you will be good. So go ahead and learn JavaScript, the basic snippets, and then also see the ES6 version or ES7 version. Like we saw that these are the versions being used. So just see how the code are being written because we have seen that ES6 and ES7, whatever it is, we can use it in the Lightning Web Component. So because Lightning Web Component is using the uh, standard web standards, so we can take it from ES6 itself. Earlier, when it was Aura framework, then it is having its own language, and we were not having that much availability. Now you can get it in Quora or any other sites as well. You can try that code snippet, and that should work exactly the way it is working in your code in Lightning Web Component. So about testing the Lightning Web Component, so we will go through it. once in the later sessions, then we can discuss in detail. And I will request you all to have that LWC recipe with you, so we can go in depth and understand more code snippet. And even in your free time, you can just go with the code and see of them like how it works. You might not understand each and every code, but just the basic hello word, hello binding, these kind of code snippets you can make changes and learn, right? And then obviously I am here, and then there are other experts who can help you out in understanding your doubts. So there's no other technical question I'm seeing today. So guys, go ahead and see the chapters which I mentioned, and also go with the videos. So if you have any technical questions, we can help you out there. So thank you everyone for taking the time.